Stative verbs in the imperfect tense. Now let's look at what stative verbs look like in the imperfect tense. We saw in the perfect tense that we had three patterns. Okay, let me write these down here. If these are our root letters, we had this one. That's the first one we learned. That's the normal dynamic form, non-stative. And then we had two other ones. Actually, let's be smart here. And while we're at it, well, no, we'll leave it. So we had two other forms. We had the tsere form and we had the holum. And these were the statives here. And this was the dynamic. Now in the imperfect, we have two patterns, not three patterns. In the perfect we have three patterns, in the imperfect we have two. So let me draw our little things here again. And let's pretend X here is our prefix, whatever that is, the yud, the tav, the aleph, or the nun. Just put X there. And we have a hidik there, followed by silent shava. So yif, code, and we have O there. That's our normal form, and that happens to be our dynamic form. We learned the dynamic ones first because most verbs are dynamic. Now, what does the other form look like? We just have one other one because we have a total of two in the imperfect, not three. So let me copy this here. Move it down here. This will be our stative one. And what changes is the theme vowel. And what is it? It is a patach. So instead of yifkod, we have yifkad. Now we've actually seen this somewhere. Where have we seen this? If you go back to chapter 17, which is where we introduced the imperfect, I introduced this first, yifkod, tifkod, tifkod, tifkadi, efkod, etc. But then I said, if you have a guttural, then you tend to get this, a patach here. Well, the stative is the same form as the guttural. And so, what I should do is show you a paradigm of this. And what I'm going to do is I stole the paradigm we had from the gutturals. So this is just from that lesson. Yishmar, okay? Third guttural, shama is to hear or to listen. And so we had all these patachs in there, except for these three, because these three are the ones with pretonic reduction. In the perfect, we had pretonic reduction here and here. In the imperfect, it's the 2FS and the 3MP and the 2MP, because those are the ones with vocalic endings. You can go back to chapter 17 if you've forgotten those details, but again, pretonic reduction here means that you're going to lose your theme vowel. So whatever your theme vowel is going to disappear. So everywhere else you have a patach. Now if we were to put kaved in here, now this of course, kaved is this is the lexical form, the form you find in the dictionary, which is the perfect 3ms. But if we were to put it in here, it would be yichbad. So we would have a patach here. Tichbad, tichbad, tichbedi, echbad. Yichbedu, tichbadna. Tichbedu, tichbadna, nichbad. Same paradigm. So no point in learning something new. It's just remember that for the imperfect, the theme vowel is a patach, just like the guttural. Now this is interesting because compare it with the perfect. In the perfect, the dynamic form, the theme vowel was what? Pakad. What is our normal theme vowel for dynamic perfect? Pakad is patach, right? Okay, what I'm talking about here is this. Pakad. Okay, that's our theme vowel. And the statives, we had either tsere or holum, right? So tsere or holum. Now the imperfect, the normal one for the dynamic, the one we first learned, yifkod, is the holum. Okay, holum there. And the stative is the same as what you get with the guttural, which is the patach. Patach. Now notice, it's opposite, isn't it? So with the imperfect, the patach is the stative, while with the perfect, the theme vowel patach indicates dynamic, and it's just the opposite. The holum for the imperfect indicates dynamic, while the holum for the stative indicates, sorry, the holum for the perfect indicates stative. Now, the perfect has a third one, the one with the tere, which doesn't show up here at all. But again, we got this flip-flop here. And we've seen these types of things in Hebrew more than once. We've seen it with gender. The endings on common nouns like av are the opposite of what you expect. Father has a feminine type ending. We saw it, of course, in the vav conversive, or vav consecutive, where this conversive, this special vav looks like it's flipping the meaning, perfect into imperfect and vice versa. And now here, in terms of theme vowels, we have this flip again. These flips obviously aren't related, but it is interesting that you have this in Hebrew. So you got this X pattern here. So remember that the basic form that you're learning is pakad and yifkod, but the statives are opposite of that. And then there's a tere, which is an additional one for the perfect. In terms of translation, you translate the statives the same way you translate the dynamics. So yizkor, remember, this is a dynamic. You could translate this, you will remember, as a future, or you used to remember, or you would remember as a customary past, or just remembers, God remembers, which is just a timeless, habitual, or as a modal, he may remember, can remember, should remember, etc. Okay? So those are the ways we covered as to how to translate imperfects. Dynamic imperfects. We didn't say they were dynamic, but that's what we introduced you to first. Now with stative imperfect, you translate them exactly the same way. It's just as a stative. So, yichbad, corresponding to yizkor, he will remember, he will be heavy. So, he or it or whatever, will be heavy would be future, used to be heavy or would be heavy, customary past, is heavy, timeless, habitual, just a statement, may be heavy, could be heavy, ought to be heavy, etc. would be modals. So, you translate stative verbs the same way you would translate dynamic verbs. The only difference is that it's stative versus dynamic, but all the other translation issues, future, modal, customary, whatever, those all carry over exactly the same. And the differences are in the theme vowel, and again, we'll just go back to here. You get this flip where the theme vowel changes to sort of what the perfect would be. The imperfect, when it goes to a stative, takes the dynamic perfect, and the perfect, when it goes to a stative, takes the imperfect, the dynamic imperfect vowel, except you have this tere. If this isn't clear to you, don't even worry about it. This other one here, this is more important. 3 patterns for the perfect, 1 for the dynamic with the patach, and then you have tere holum for the stative, and 2 patterns for the imperfect. You have holum and you have patach for the stative.